Hello and welcome. We're going to do a quick run through the Order Allocation Postponement module, otherwise known as OAP. OAP was designed to solve a particular business scenario that involves receiving orders from your customers ahead of the actual ship date. So for example, your customer gives you an order 2 months ahead of the actual ship date. If you allocate by line item in GP, you're tying up your inventory availability unnecessarily. But if you allocate by document/batch, that requires a separate manual step for doing the allocation later. And of course, someone must manage all that. Well, the OAP module was designed to solve this scenario by automatically allocating orders within a set tolerance of their respective requested ship dates. And of course, we can put a bunch of configurations on top of that. So let's run through the actual process. First thing I'm going to do is give you a better example of the scenario I'm talking about. So let's note my date here. We've got to kind of jump through time to illustrate this. So I'm set on July 1st, and we're going to write an order. And I'm going to make sure I'm using an order type that, just to show you, is by document batch. So nothing should allocate as I write this order to my favorite customer here. And before I forget, let's dive in and set this ship date to, the requested ship date. Let's set that to like 09/01/2011. So a couple months out. We're going to use the warehouse. And for simplicity's sake, we're just going to put one item on here. We'll make it for like 10. Of course, I've exceeded the credit limit. So if we drill into this item, we have no allocation. Okay. We'll save that. So traditionally in GP, you would have to somehow manage these dates, run reports, inquiries, and go manually allocate orders, or get them all in a batch that you somehow allocate. There's no really great way to do it. So what we have is the Order Allocation Postponement module. If you've already watched our demo for dynamic order allocation, the interfaces are very much the same. They just solve a slightly different allocation scenario. Where dynamic order allocation took care of orders that were back-ordered, unback-ordered them, and allocated them within a requested ship date tolerance. This is working on a completely different scenario where what we just showed, you wrote the order, you didn't back order it, it's just you don't want to place that allocation way ahead of time. But we got the same kind of configurations. The main settings, we can decide how these orders get allocated. We're writing an example here with just one order, but let's say there's hundreds of orders out there and we have to decide who gets the allocation first. Well, we can prioritize that. I'm going to do it by customer priority. So my A customers first, that's a setting in GP. And then just simply move on to the requested ship date and whether it gets shipped complete or not. I'm going to put a 7-day tolerance on this, so it's not going to give allocation to the order until it's within 7 days of the ship date. And there's some other settings we can mess with. We won't get into those, but you can decide whether you want it to be 100% allocation or not. If you're not doing 100% allocation, we can actually allocate what is available and back order the rest. But the way I'm going to run it for the demo here is we're not even going to hit that scenario because I have plenty in inventory. So I'm going to save that. And similar to dynamic order allocation, we can put a bunch of restrictions on this. I'm going to run it wide open. I can restrict it down to only dealing with certain document types or batches, and you can see the other criteria that we could do that with. That's something that you have to dial in when we get going. Okay, so just to prove that this isn't going to do anything right now, I'm going to execute this routine manually. Normally, we would set this up to run on a schedule, once a day or every hour, or however you want to do it. Something that you got to have to dial in based on your specific needs. But we would set that up on a schedule to run, but for demo purposes, I can just hit execute and we'll do it manually. So I don't expect anything to really happen here. It was run successfully. That doesn't mean anything necessarily got allocated. It just means it was run. So we will open that order up. Apparently I did not put that in my clipboard. Let's get out of here. Move this back to order manual listed in doc 8. Let's get that in the clipboard. Okay. So you see there's still nothing allocated if we drill in, and that's what I would expect, because we're not within 7 days of the tolerance yet. So let's fast forward. I am going to move my system date up to, what did we say we were doing, September 1st? Okay. I don't really need to change the GP date. I just need the system date to be correct for the SQL to read it. Okay, so let's say the schedule ran. I'm going to manually execute it again. It took a little longer there, so I must have been actually doing something. Let's open that back up. And we will drill in and notice we have 10 allocated. So now it's all ready to go. If you're using our handhelds to fulfill this, it's all ready to go for the handhelds or whatever process you're using to fulfill. Your allocation has been set, and it all happened on a schedule. You didn't have to do much of anything once you set this up. So that is order allocation postponement.